Hi, crafty friends. It's Diane, the Creative Inkster, and today I'm going to show you some amazing tips for using your bone folder. So this is my Stampin' Up! One, which is well loved, and most of them have actually got the logo already worn off of them from use. That's how much I love using mine. And I recently had some made for my team members, and we had our names etched onto them. So that's the one I'm using here. This is going to blow your mind. There are a lot of things you can do with this $10 tool. So let me show you the first one. All right, we are going to go through 8 things you can do with the bone folder. All right, so we just recently had available the scoring tool to buy as a 2-pack for $8.25. You'll know your scoring tool is starting to wear down when it starts to really get worn on the edges here. And this will get a little bit black, but the edges here will start to wear down. And so one thing you can do if you're in a pinch and you don't have your scoring tool, you can take your bone folder. We're going to put the score mark here at 5.5. And you can just take the tip of the bone folder down the track a couple of times, and that will score it quite nicely for you. That's tip number 1. And then once you do that, you want to fold it back so you're folding away from the divot that you have created. And tip number 2 is using the bone folder, which is probably the most intended use, and that is to crease on your paper. So if you're making boxes, that's super important because you want to have really nice crisp folds. This card here is showing some of the tips that I've used with this, and I'm going to tell you all about that when we're done. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to distress your paper. So you can see if as you watch here, if you can see some of the things that I used. Now, I did find that this works a little bit better if your piece is embossed, but that's not 100% required. And you're going to take the edge of your bone folder and holding this on in your hand on the left side, or, I guess if you're left-handed, in the right hand, and just between your fingers and your thumb, you're going to hold it there, and this will distress and curl up the edges of your embossed piece, or if it's just a rectangular piece. So I cut this one to 3.5 by 4 3/4, and I'm just pulling it along here. Now, we did used to grab our scissors and do that. So take our paper snips, open them up, and distress along the edge. That's really hard on the cutting surface of your scissors. So I've since moved away from that. There are other things you can do as well, but I just love the fact that my bone folder will do this for me too. So it gets a little bit wrinkly, and that's okay. That's how we're going to move to the next one. So this is the side that I'm going to glue down. So I'm going to grab my liquid glue because that is my glue of choice. And I'm not super concerned about getting it right to the edges, but I'm going to put some in the middle. I'm just going to stick this into onto the front of my card. Now, this distressing kind of helps if your embossing folder isn't particularly straight. I mean, I did manage to get this pattern nice and straight on it, but that doesn't always happen. Then here you can take this for tip number 4 and press down your embossed piece. Now, I'm not pressing too hard because I don't want to press out the beautiful embossing I've just done, but this helps me press the glue to the edges. And it's kind of the same thing that you would do if you were using an adhesive sheet on the back of something. You can help adhere the adhesive sheet to your cardstock before you cut it by pressing down onto the adhesive sheet, or once you're placing your item down, you can go over it as well. All right. The next one is going to be straightening out. So when you get your baker's twine or linen thread in particular, you will find that it comes on a spool, and it works the same with ribbon as well. Not all the ribbon on a larger spool will be as kinky sort of as this, and this one's actually not too bad. Some of them, the twine will be rather curly, and so you can take it between your thumb and the bone folder and just go along the edge like that. And that helps straighten it out a little bit. It takes a little bit of those extra kinks out. When we used to sell the twine on the rectangular piece of cardboard, it would have obvious pinches where it went around the cardboard. So I'm going to just have this ready to go for a double bow, I think is what I'm going to do with this one. So that was tip number 5, I think. And oh, now I've lost count. Let's say you need to re-ink your ink pad. You can use an old credit card for sure, but did you know you can also use your bone folder? I would not go directly on here. I would cover my bone folder with a piece of plastic wrap or a Ziploc bag, that kind of thing, just to protect it because it will take up the ink. But you just take your ink pad, take your corresponding ink re-inker. I spread it out on here. This one does not need a lot, so I'm going to just show you, pretend how it works. But you squeeze it out so you get sort of a squiggly line across all of it. And then with your bone folder covered in some plastic wrap to protect it, you would go this way, all 4 ways towards you from the outside, and that distributes the ink nicely. Similarly, if your ink pad is super juicy and you're finding that it's not working well on a certain stamp, like a photopolymer stamp, you can, with the plastic wrap covering up your bone folder, press and move some of the ink out of the way, and then just move it back. There's another tip for you. All right, now we got to do some stamping and some bits and pieces. So can you see some of those things that I've done, that I've shared with you, that I've done with this card here? I hope so. I'm going to grab some white to go on the inside of my card. Nope, do that after. I've pre-cut this circle, which is a stitched circle, and I'm just going to put some cover-up paper underneath. And let's see, we will take the stamps from Petal Park. This is the interior one on this 2-step stamping. This is the exterior. So I'm going to do this in Parakeet Party, which matches the embossed layer. I'm going to do this full strength, and then I'm going to stamp off once and do the inner leaves in a second generation ink. So here we go. We're going to do this right over top. And we know some are going to be landing on there and some will not. Okay, there we go. That's full strength with that stamp. Then the 2-step has the inside piece as well. So we'll ink it up. Then we're going to stamp this off once. So you just take it to your scratch paper and press down. Now we're going to line this up, which takes a little thinking to make sure you get it where you want it to land. There we go. Sometimes I take a black marker and I place a little dot on one of the flowers, leaves, or directions so that I know that that will be the positioning point on both stamps. There we go. So we've added 2-tone coloring there, the outline in full strength and the inside in stamped off. So we're good there. Let's hang on to that in case we need it. Then we're going to add some flowers. So I had a couple of thoughts, and I think I'm just going to go straight to punching them out. Grab a little Tahitian tide here too. So the Petal Park punch that matches this stamp set has 3 flowers and a leaf. So let's go outside the box and we will punch one of each of those. So this one and the red. Let's not waste too much, shall we? We're actually going to fit this right in here. And then we'll do a piece in Parakeet Party with just the small one. So I'll be able to demonstrate the use of the bone folder here very easily with just a few pieces. Okay. So you take your bone folder and your flower, and bigger flowers works even better. and you just flick it out using your thumb on your bone folder. Put the paper between the bone folder and your thumb, and you pull. The larger the flower, the more easy time you're going to have getting in there. And that, just keep going around. It distresses your flower, which kind of goes with the distressing we got going on here a little bit. And in fact, it helps you break down the fibers even more on your flower. So that piece is going to go there. And then we're going to do the same with this one. So there's only 4 petals in here. And then we're going to glue them together. And then your teeny one can work the same way. So you'll see I did that on my koala bear card that I did before you joined me. Here we go. All right. So we don't want to press this down flat. We want to have these pieces of the petals sticking up. So let's put a little wee glue dot on the sweet sorbet over top of the Tahitian tide. And then we're going to glue that right into the center here. So we'll put some glue down there. And then we'll take our parakeet party, a little dab of glue on that, and stick that one there. Now you could put dimensionals and pop it up in between the layers as well if you liked, but that's what we've got going on here. We have some corresponding embellishments, which are in color pearls that will look really pretty on here. And I'm going to use this sweet sorbet corresponding one. Stick that in there. We may need more of those. I'm not going to get rid of those just yet. So there's another way to use your bone folder. And now we're going to put a greeting on this that says best wishes. This is one of my favorite stamp sets for greetings called Layering Leaves. Just has a beautiful font. And so I've chosen best wishes, which we're going to put on another piece of paper, and we're going to hand cut out. And we're going to pull in the Tahitian tide. This is one of the in colors for 2022, 2024. Just stick that down there. Ooh, that was a bit blotchy. Let's flip it over and do it again. You know, a chance for me to share another tool with you, and that is the Stampin' Pierce mat. And you'll find when you use that with the photopolymer stamps, you do tend to get a little bit better image. Just let that dry a sec here, and then tap it into the ink pad. So we want the words to show up really nicely. There we go, that's a little bit better. So now we're going to cut it out just by hand, just a simple edge around it all. This takes a little bit of that white space out of there. I think you've heard me say that before. If you watch my videos, I like to take a little bit of the extra white space out and make this not take up too much space on the card, but definitely have an impact as our focal point for the greeting. There we go. And then this will slide in here. And I think I'm actually going to glue it directly down. Or should I put, no, I think I'm going to glue it down. I like it better glued down. So I'll add a little liquid glue to that, mostly because I've got my ink on the back of the white and it's showing through a little bit. So for this card, we won't pop it up. We'll just put this like this. All right, and we're getting ready to finish it off here with a little bit of twine that we took with our bone folder to make it a little bit straighter. We've got our layer down already, so how should we do this? I think the thought was a double bow. So to do a double bow, you fold your piece in half. So in total, this was about 16 inches of twine. I have now cut it into 2 pieces. This isn't magic, don't worry, you won't miss anything. And then do a little bow, and you can wrap it with the 2 pieces together. Let me show you that again. You just put the 2 pieces together, side by each, like that. And then you tie a bow as if you're just tying with one piece. and it goes fairly easily. But it makes, with baker's twine being rather thin, this is, I believe, about 6 strands of twine. But when you do a double bow, it makes it that much thicker and prettier. There, we're going to stick it right there. So we need a glue dot. I'll put the glue dot on the knot of the bow. Pop this down here. And if I found that I wanted to curl the edges a little bit, I could do that too. So same way with straightening them out. If I use my bone folder in a bit thick, firmer grasp between the two, I can direct the way I want these pieces to go a little bit. Works a lot better with the linen thread. It's a little more cotton in it. I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals. Flip our layer over. And then we'll review real quick the various different ways we used our bone folder. Okay, here we go. I'm going to trim that a little bit, just a titch. All right, and there we go. There's our card. And here's the one I made ahead of time. So to recap real quick, we used the scoring on the paper trimmer. We used our bone folder to go down the score line. We used it to burnish the crisp fold on the edge. We used it to embellish our embossed layer here. We could have used it to add ink to an ink pad if we needed to re-ink our ink pad, but remember to put plastic wrap on it to protect it. Then we used it to straighten out our twine, or in this case, the linen thread. And then with some punched flowers, was able to go ahead and curl the edges of it to give them a little bit of a life, and used it to help adhere this layer down, which when you use an embossed layer, sometimes your glue goes into the nooks and crannies, so you need a little help to press it down. And I think that covers all the ones that I wanted to share with you, including if you ever use adhesive sheets, it's a great way to help adhere the adhesive between the two pieces. So thanks for watching. Be sure to contact me if you're wanting to get yourself a bone folder to add to your tool stash. It's a very helpful tool. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.